My brother ran out on his wedding the day before, abandoning his bride-to-be and their 1-month-old child. Afraid of offending the Smith family, who practically ran Chicago, my parents made me take my brother's place at the altar. I strive to be a good husband, and more than that, I raised my brother's child as my own, personally tending to her every need, day and night. After 10 years of marriage, everyone said I was the perfect husband and father. But just 3 days before our child's 10th birthday, I saw my wife outside the study, gently stroking the girl's head with a look of pure malice in her eyes. "You're a big girl now, so stay away from that man. If it weren't for him, your father never would have left, and he certainly wouldn't have abandoned you as a baby. Don't you worry, I've found your father, and soon the 3 of us can be a real family again." The child's head snapped up, her eyes fixed on my wife. So Dad left because of my uncle? Was everything he ever did for me a lie? Just then, they noticed me standing in the doorway. The child rushed out, shoved me hard down the stairs, and stared down at me. "You vicious monster, stop pretending." After quickly tending to my sprained ankle, I made an overseas call. "Dr. Evans, I'd like to accept the offer to join the research project." The moment I hung up, Rose walked in with our daughter, Lily. "You heard all that, didn't you? Then I'll be blunt. Ethan is coming back soon, so you'd better stay in your lane and not cause any trouble. Otherwise, there won't be a place for you in this house anymore." Lily looked at me with utter disdain, her eyes filled with a deep-seated loathing. "If you hadn't taken care of me all these years, I would have had Mom throw you out ages ago. Who do you think you are? If you weren't my father's brother, you'd never have had a chance to marry my mother." I lifted my head, my eyes resting on the woman and the child in front of me. 10 years ago, Ethan had fled the night before his wedding, leaving behind a helpless infant. As his younger brother, I was forced to give up a position at the National Research Institute to marry Rose in his stead. For 10 years, I did everything a husband and father was supposed to do. I escorted Rose to every social function and kept our home in perfect order. When we first married, Lily was just a helpless baby. Now, she was old enough to stand in front of me and scream in my face. 10 years had passed in the blink of an eye. I fought back the lump in my throat and said quietly to Rose, "Rose, let's get a divorce." Rose stared, completely stunned that I would dare bring up divorce. Before she could respond, Lily jumped in. "Make, can't you stand the thought of my dad coming back? He's not even here yet, and you're already threatening my mom with a divorce. Let me tell you something, no matter what you do, you'll never be worth a single hair on my father's head. Your little games just make you even more disgusting." As much as Rose's obsession with Ethan hurt, the words coming from Lily were what truly broke my heart. Even though she was Ethan's biological daughter, after 10 years of raising her, I saw her as my own. But now, without even showing his face, Ethan had undone a decade of my life. I choked back the tears and repeated myself in a strained voice. "Rose, let's get a divorce." This time, before either of them could reply, a shrill voice cut through the air. "Make, have you lost your mind?" I looked over and saw my parents. Lily immediately ran into my mother's arms, sobbing as she recounted my supposed crimes. "Grandma, you're finally here? This man stole my dad's place for 10 years, and now he wants to divorce Mom before Dad even gets back. You were right. He's completely ungrateful." When Rose saw my parents, she took the crying Lily by the hand to leave, but not before delivering a final, cold remark. "Get your son under control. I don't need him causing problems for me." As soon as Rose was gone, my mother slapped me hard across the face. "What on earth are you not satisfied with? We gave you the position of son-in-law to the Smith family. It's been 10 years. Any resentment, it should be long gone by now. I know you blame us for forcing you to marry her, but without us, you'd never have this life of privilege. If I were you, I'd be on my knees begging Rose and Lily not to throw me out." My father stepped forward, restraining my mother, who was still fuming. "That's enough. He's a grown man. You can talk to him without hitting him." After saying that, my father turned to me, and though he tried to hide it, I could see the displeasure in his eyes. "Do you have any idea who the Smiths are? Without them, do you think the Miller Corporation would even exist today? Besides, it's your own failure that after 10 years of marriage, you couldn't even give Rose a child of your own. Now, stop this tantrum and listen to me. When it comes to Rose, you have no right to ever bring up divorce." Anxious to comfort their precious granddaughter, my parents left the room without giving me a second glance. My ankle was bare and badly swollen, the sharp scent of the topical spray I'd used still hanging in the air. Yet from start to finish, my parents never once asked about my injury. Their only concern was preventing a divorce. This scene had played out countless times before, but it never failed to sting. The next morning, my ankle was still swollen, but I could walk on it if I pushed through the pain, so I forced myself out the door. Dr. Evans was pressing me on the research project, and there was a lot of paperwork to handle for the move abroad. By the time I got home, it was late afternoon. Rose looked furious, and Lily was sitting on the sofa, sulking. The moment she saw me, Lily jumped to her feet, her words dripping with contempt. "It's almost dark. Where the hell have you been? Why didn't you pick me up from school? And why isn't dinner made? What are Mom and I supposed to eat?" It seemed that with Ethan's impending return, Lily felt no need to pretend anymore, openly displaying her contempt for me. Rose did nothing to stop her, her own expression a mirror of dissatisfaction. "Lily just pushed you a little, and you're still sulking? Some father you are. She's only 10. Why are you holding a grudge against the child? Enough. Just go make dinner. Lily's hungry." Perhaps because of what happened last night, I looked at the shameless pair before me and felt nothing but a strange urge to laugh. "We have a housekeeper, don't we? Ask her to cook. I'm tired, and I'm going to rest." Without another glance, I turned and headed for the stairs. At the top of the landing, I stopped. "And another thing, you both made it clear last night that I'm not her father, so you don't get to tell me how a father should act." But as I walked into my room, Lily charged in right behind me. "You monster! Do you think acting like this will scare me and Mom? Do you think we'll stop Dad from coming home because of you? I'm telling you, you can forget it." Roaring with rage, Lily yanked open my closet and threw all of my clothes onto the floor. She scanned the room furiously, then stormed into the bathroom and emerged with an eyebrow razor. She began slashing at my clothes, cursing me with every cut. "You think raising me gives you the right to tell me what to do? You live in my house and eat my food. Who are you to give me an attitude? You think you're so tough? You want to throw a fit? Then stop wearing the clothes my mother bought you. Stop eating our food, and get out of my house, you monster." Lily's face was red with rage, her expression twisted and almost savage. I watched her silently, her features blurring until I saw the face of the infant I'd held 10 years ago, and for a moment, I was lost in a memory. The first time I walked through the doors of this house, Lily was just a baby, screaming in the nanny's arms. I rushed over and took her. Miraculously, the moment she was in my arms, she stopped crying and even nuzzled her tiny head against my chest. Rose, standing beside me, seemed to breathe a sigh of relief. "You're Ethan's brother, and she's your niece. It seems she already trusts you." That simple, unconscious act of trust from a baby melted my heart, and from that day on, I became her father. When she had a fever, I stayed up all night by her side, worried she was uncomfortable. When she was a picky eater, I learned to cook, making fun and creative meals just to get her to eat a little more. When she had a problem with a classmate, I took her by the hand, went to their house to sort it out, and always reminded her that her dad was forever in her corner. And in return for all of that, here she was, shredding my clothes to pieces, screaming that I was a freeloader who had stolen her father's place. Just then, Rose entered the room. She scooped up the enraged child, and then shot me a look of profound disappointment. "It seems you really were just pretending all these years." As Rose turned to leave, Lily hurled the razor straight at me. It bounced off my chest and clattered to the floor, leaving me unharmed, but the look on her face sent a chill down my spine. I had no doubt that in that moment, she wanted me dead. The door slammed shut, plunging the room into silence. I stood there, staring at the pile of shredded clothes on the floor. It felt like I was looking at a reflection of myself. I don't know how long I stood there before our housekeeper, Mrs. Davis, came in and started to clean up the mess. "Sir, Mrs. Smith and Lily have already eaten. Would you like me to get you something?" Seeing the genuine concern on Mrs. Davis's face, I felt a pang in my chest. It had been so long, I'd forgotten what it felt like for someone to worry about me. I just shook my head. "No, thank you. I'm not hungry." As she was leaving, Mrs. Davis, who had been quiet until then, sighed deeply. She hesitated for a moment before speaking. "Some children, sir, are just born ungrateful. It's a waste to give them your heart." Only after Mrs. Davis had quietly closed the door behind her did the tears I'd held back for 2 days finally break free. I buried my face in the comforter and sobbed. She was right. Even the housekeeper could see how much I had poured my heart and soul into raising Lily. But to Rose, to Lily, and even to my own parents, it was nothing more than my duty. I don't know how long I cried before I finally fell asleep. I was woken by a commotion downstairs to find that morning had come. When I went down, I saw a familiar, yet foreign, figure sitting on the living room sofa. It was Ethan. He was sitting right in the center of the sofa, with Lily nestled against him, looking up at him adoringly. My parents hovered around him, fussing over him with concerned expressions. And my wife, Rose, sat in the armchair opposite him, silent, her eyes filled with a tenderness that seemed to spill over. In 10 years of marriage, I had never seen her look at anyone that way. My mother, who was always so sharp with me, was now gazing at the son she hadn't seen in a decade with pure adoration. "Oh, you. How could you be so cruel? All these years without a single visit or a phone call. You nearly worried us to death." My father, usually so stern and reserved, gently nudged my mother's arm. "He's back now. That's all that matters. I just want my boy home safe." And Lily, the same girl who had looked at me with such hatred yesterday, was now curled up in Ethan's lap, acting like a perfect angel. "Daddy, you're the best daddy in the whole world." A sharp pain shot through my chest. If I hadn't been the one there for her every single day for the past decade, I would have thought Ethan had raised her himself. Rose stood up then. "Today is a special day. I've booked a table at a restaurant for us to celebrate." She didn't say his name, but her eyes never left Ethan, the adoration in them impossible to miss. The five of them sat there in the living room, a perfect family circle, celebrating a reunion as if the disastrous wedding abandonment 10 years ago had never happened. They had forgotten how the Smiths had flown into a rage, threatening to ruin my family and pulling every last dollar of their investment from the Miller Corporation. My mother collapsed from the stress, and my father came to the Institute and dragged me home just as I was about to leave the country with my research team. They forced me to give up my career, to marry Rose, to throw away my future to clean up my brother's mess, and become a stepfather. They cursed Ethan's name, swore they would disown him, and promised that I was their only son now. My father was so desperate to save the failing Miller Corporation that he all but begged me on his knees. I finally relented, put on the tuxedo, and stood at the altar in my brother's place. In the beginning, Rose was a wreck, drowning her sorrows in alcohol, refusing to leave the house or go to work. I had to care for an infant, comfort an emotionally shattered woman, and still stay up all night helping my old research team with their data analysis from overseas. A year later, the day Lily took her first wobbly steps, Rose threw her arms around me, her eyes filled with tears. She choked out the words, "Make, thank you. Thank you for everything. From now on, let's make this work." But now it was clear that more than 3,000 days and nights of devotion meant nothing. All Ethan had to do was show up, and it was all for naught. As this thought crossed my mind, Ethan spotted me on the stairs. "Make, you're up. Sorry about this. I wasn't planning on coming, but Lily kept begging me to come home, and I just couldn't say no." Before Ethan could finish, Lily cut him off, planting herself in front of him like a tiny bodyguard. "Dad, you don't have to explain anything to him. He's the reason we were separated for all these years." At that, my mother rushed forward and slapped me across the face. "You ungrateful son. If your brother hadn't told us today that you hired someone to kidnap him, that you threatened him with compromising photos, we never would have known the real reason he disappeared 10 years ago. Did you want your brother's wife that badly? Was being the Smith's son-in-law worth all this? Why did you put on that whole show about sacrificing your career? You must have loved watching your father and me beg you, didn't you? Make, I don't know how I ever gave birth to such a heartless monster." She put all her strength into that slap, and I could taste blood in my mouth. I ignored her and turned to Ethan, who was standing there with a look of pure innocence on his face. "Really? Is that the story you told them?" A flicker of panic crossed Ethan's eyes, but he quickly composed himself. "Make, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to tell them the truth, but I just missed everyone so much. I miss Mom and Dad, and I missed Rose and Lily more than anything. Please, Make, I promise I won't get in your way with Rose. I won't interfere with your life or try to take your place. I just want to come home, please." He trailed off, his voice breaking into a sob, unable to finish the sentence. If I hadn't known the truth, I might have believed his performance myself. Sure enough, Lily bought it completely. She lunged at me, kicking and hitting me with her small fists. "You monster! This is all your fault." Rose's look was now utterly devoid of warmth, laced with pure disgust. I sidestepped Lily's attack and, without a word, walked straight out the door. Rose's cold voice followed me. "If you walk out that door today, don't ever come back." I felt nothing. I didn't look back. Goodbye, Rose. After finalizing my travel documents, I got a call from Dr. Evans, who said a car would pick me up that evening. I hung up and breathed a deep sigh of relief. Thankfully, even though I'd spent the last decade as a house husband, I never completely gave up my work, continuing to assist Dr. Evans's team remotely on their projects. By the time the sky was completely dark, my phone rang. It was Dr. Evans. "Make, we'll be there in half an hour." I took a deep breath and walked toward the dark silhouette of the mansion. The moment I pushed open the door, foul sound met my ears. A man's voice, hoarse with passion. "Rose, don't. Lily's home. What if May comes back?" A woman's voice, sultry and seductive, answered him. "Ethan, my Ethan, I've missed you so much. For 10 years, not a single day went by that I didn't think of you. Please, don't ever leave me again. I'll give you anything you want, just stay. I didn't listen to another word. I placed the signed divorce papers on the coffee table and walked out. The next morning, as I was waiting at the airport with Dr. Evans and his team, my phone rang. Make, you really didn't come home all night. Where did you go? What happened is in the past. We're not mad anymore. Just come back. I remained silent, perhaps sensing she was being too harsh. Rose's tone softened. Look, I know a lot has happened. I was wrong too. Can't we just meet in the middle? Please, just come home. I'll take you out to dinner tonight. I even made a reservation at your favorite restaurant. I'm making time for you. Isn't that enough? I couldn't listen to any more of it. I cut her off, my voice cold. The divorce papers are on the coffee table. And for the record, not 10 years ago and not now have I ever been the one in the wrong. You all were. After I hung up, her last words echoed in my head. I'm making time for you. Isn't that enough? But just last night, in that room, she had looked at Ethan and said something very different. I'll give you anything. She was ready to give Ethan the entire world. But for me, a single dinner was supposed to be a gift. It was laughable. The phone rang again, just as the boarding call for my flight was announced. I pulled out the SIM card, snapped it in two, and powered down my phone. From this day forward, I was just Make, not a husband and not a father. 3 hours later, I was on a plane to England, completely oblivious to the chaos erupting back home. Rose gripped the divorce papers, her knuckles white. Beside her, Ethan began to cry. Make is still the same as he was 10 years ago. The second something doesn't go his way, the whole world has to stop for him. I just got back yesterday, and now he's running away. Does he hate me that much? But don't worry, Rose. I know my brother. He'd never actually go through with a divorce. He's just trying to manipulate you. Don't fall for it. Rose said nothing, her eyes glued to the divorce papers. The final stroke of Make's signature was pressed so hard into the page, it nearly tore through. She could almost feel the force he must have used. After 10 years of living with him day in and day out, she knew him. She could still clearly remember the day Lily took her first steps. Make's eyes had been wide with wonder as he pointed at the toddling girl and yelled with pure excitement. Rose, look, Lily's walking. The pure joy on his face had been so bright, it almost hurt to look at. In that single moment, the shadow of Ethan's departure had seemed to lift completely. She had thrown her arms around Make and promised that the three of them would be a real family. Make had been stunned for a second before nodding firmly. Okay. Suddenly, his last words from the phone call came rushing back to her. And for the record, not 10 years ago, and not now, have I ever been the one in the wrong. You all were. Hearing those words again in her mind sent a chill down her spine. She had the distinct feeling that something precious was slipping through her fingers. Seeing her silence, Ethan started to get nervous. Rose, you're not blaming me, are you? I couldn't help it, Rose. I just miss my daughter so much. She's my flesh and blood. You have no idea what these 10 years have been like for me. Rose finally seemed to snap out of her trance and looked at him. Ethan, are you hiding something from me? A flicker of guilt crossed his face, and Rose didn't miss it. Rose was a sharp woman. Yesterday, she had been too caught up in the joy of his return to think clearly. But now it occurred to her that 10 years ago, Make was just a kid fresh out of college. Even if he had threatened Ethan, it made no sense for Ethan to stay away for a decade, just because he was scared. The Smith family was one of the most powerful in Chicago. Ethan had to know they could have protected him. The only logical conclusion was that he was lying. Rose squeezed her eyes shut, and when she opened them again, her expression was one of cold clarity. That's enough, Ethan. I am tired. You should go home. Your parents are waiting for you. I'll call you when I've sorted things out. Ethan opened his mouth to protest, but seeing the look on her face, he thought better of it and left without another word. As she watched him leave, Rose dialed her assistant. I want you to find out everything that's happened for the last 10 years. Where Ethan has been, and the real reason he ran out on our wedding. I want every single detail. I was oblivious to everything happening back home. The moment I landed in England, I dove headfirst in my work with Dr. Evans's team. Thankfully, since I had managed all their data remotely for years, I integrated seamlessly and was too busy to spare a thought for Rose or Lily. After a decade, I felt like I was finally myself again, shining. I had no idea that back in the States, Rose was falling apart. She hadn't gone to work in days, leaving Lily completely in the housekeeper's care while she locked herself in her room, in an even worse state than she'd been 10 years prior. A full week passed before Rose sent her assistant to pick up Ethan. He arrived cheerfully, assuming she or Lily missed him. Rose, you finally called. Is there any news from Make? That's good. I've been worried sick. Where's Lily? Before he could finish his sentence, Rose's hand shot out and clamped down on his jaw, silencing him instantly. Seeing the murderous look in her eyes, Ethan finally felt a surge of fear. Rose, what's wrong? It's me, Ethan. You're Ethan. Please, you're scaring me. Rose's face was a mask of fury, her grip on his chin tightening. You're scared? You have a nerve to be scared? 10 years ago, you abandoned me and our child to run off with some slut, not caring if my family destroyed yours. You're lower than an animal. What do you know about fear? Ethan's expression froze as he opened his mouth to deny it, but Rose gave him no chance, shoving him to the floor and throwing a thick file of papers at his chest. Running off with your whore, you must have had a wonderful time all these years. You abandoned me. You abandoned Lily. You didn't give a damn if your family lived or died. A selfish pig like you has no right to be afraid. So why come back now? What's wrong? Is that great love you gave up everything for not working out? You got some nerve, Ethan. The papers scattered across the floor. Staring at the evidence, Ethan began to tremble uncontrollably. No, it's not. Rose, please, let me explain. A sharp kick through his shoulder from Rose cut him off. And you dared to frame make. After you left, he gave everything to this family. And you. Just then, Lily walked in from school, saw the scene, and immediately rushed to shield Ethan on the floor. Mom, what are you doing? That's my dad. How can you hurt him? Rose pulled Lily away and ordered the stunned housekeeper. Take Lily to her room. The moment she spoke, Ethan, knowing the jig was up, scrambled to his feet, grabbing Lily and using her as a shield as he pleaded. Rose, please, I was wrong. It was all my fault. I wasn't thinking straight, but I know I was wrong now. I'll change, I swear. Look, this is our daughter, Rose. I'm her father. We could be a family. Rose had heard enough. Enough. My family of 3 doesn't include you. It includes Make. For Lily's sake, I won't completely ruin you. Now get out of my house and never let me see your face again. As she finished speaking, several large men in black suits entered the room. Mr. Miller, it's time to go. I knew nothing of the chaos back home. I was too busy enjoying the life I had finally reclaimed. For 3 months in England, I had been completely absorbed in my research, and my life once again felt full of challenges and hope. Today was a rare day off, so I went to the international market early to buy groceries, planning to cook a nice meal for myself. I was halfway through my prep when someone knocked on my door. I opened it to find a familiar figure kneeling on my doorstep. Make, Lily and I are here to take you home. I couldn't be bothered with this and moved to shut the door, but Lily darted out from behind Rose and wrapped her arms around my waist. Daddy, I missed you. Why were you gone so long? Don't you want me anymore? I froze, then gently pried her hands off me and took a step back. I'm not your father. You both made that perfectly clear. I'm just your uncle, or maybe not even that. I'm just the family's hired help. If there's nothing else, please leave. I am Busse. Lily stood frozen in place, seemingly unable to process my words. It was true. In 10 years, I had never once spoken to her like that. Tears streamed down Lily's face, and her voice was a choked sob. You promised. You said no matter what, you'd always be on my side. You said you'd always be here for me. We pinky promised. You can't break a promise. I looked at her coldly. That was before. You also used to say I was your favorite person in the world, but you still chose your biological father, didn't you? And I'm not blaming you for that. He's your real father. You were right to choose him. Lily just shook her head, sobbing, unable to speak. Rose pulled the crying child behind her and looked me straight in the eye. Make, I know I was wrong. And Lily knows she was wrong, too. She cries for you in her sleep every night. Please, just come home with us. I never signed the divorce papers. You're still my husband. You're still Lily's father. I looked down at the woman kneeling before me and felt nothing but revulsion. And do what? Go back to being a stepfather to your daughter? Go back to watching you dote on Ethan? Go back to listening to him in your bed? Go back to waiting for the next time you all decide to blame me for something? Rose, what on earth makes you think I would ever go back? Rose flinched and rushed to defend herself. No, that's not it. I didn't know the truth. He lied to me, too. I let out a bitter laugh. So, does that make it okay? He lied to you, so I'm just supposed to forgive everything and go back to being your husband? We were together for 10 years. I never once failed you or Lily. But when Ethan told his lies, you didn't give me an ounce of trust. You didn't even give me a chance to explain myself. How am I supposed to forgive that, Rose? The color drained from Rose's face. Her lips moved, but no words came out. Tears started streaming down my own face. Rose, you know better than anyone what I gave up for you. I gave up my career. I gave up my entire future. 10 years of my life wasn't enough to earn an ounce of loyalty from either of you. How stupid would I have to be to go back? Besides, Lily's real father is back now. Let things be as they should. Let's just move on. The moment I finished, Lily, who had been quiet, wiped her eyes and spoke with venom in her voice. He's not my dad. That monster ran away. He lied to me and Mom. He lied to everyone. I was taken aback. Lily continued. After Mom found out he was lying, he took off. He stole a ton of money from my grandparents' company and ran away with that slut. Now no one can find him. My grandpa is in the hospital from the stress, and my grandma just cries all day. It's all because of him. I don't have a father. A storm of conflicting emotions washed over me, leaving me speechless. So, you only came looking for me because Ethan is gone. Rose looked up frantically, shuffling forward on her knees. No, that's not it, Make. I love you. I've been in love with you for a long time. I didn't see it before. What I felt for Ethan was just an old obsession, a ghost from the past. I confused it with love. I know I was wrong, Make. Please, just forgive me this one time. I promise I'll spend the rest of my life making it up to you. I couldn't listen to it anymore. Enough, Rose. You're making me sick. Her eyes were red and swollen. After a long silence, she whispered, I'm sorry. I said nothing, just watched her. Taking my silence for hope, she pressed on. I didn't know what I wanted back then. I was confused, and I hurt you because of it. Just give me a chance to show you I've changed, okay? Please, Make. Just give me time to prove it. I couldn't take it anymore. I slapped her hard across the face and slammed the door. I don't know when they finally left. I only know that the next morning, they were gone. But as I reached the entrance to the institute, a small figure darted out and threw her arms around me. Lily looked up at me, her eyes shining with adoration. Daddy, is this where you work? You're so smart. Before I could respond, I saw Rose walking toward me from a short distance away, dressed in a white cocktail dress and carrying a bouquet of flowers. She stopped in front of me and held out a ring. Make, you once told me that your biggest regret was that we never had a proper proposal. So today, I'm giving you one. Make, I love you. Marry me. I promise I'll be a good wife to you and a good mother. I'll take responsibility. Her eyes were filled with a tender, hopeful light so intense it almost hurt to look at. My mind drifted back to the day Lily learned to walk. I remembered Rose's tearful eyes and her promise. Make, thank you. Thank you for everything. From now on, let's make this work. At that memory, I took a step back, putting space between us. Rose, I believed you once. I won't make that mistake again. Rose's head drooped, the hope in her eyes fading into despair. Make, I really am sorry. Why can't you just believe me? I pulled my jacket tighter around me. Rose, if you're truly sorry, then leave me alone and let me live my life. After these 10 years, I don't owe either of you a single thing. With that, I turned without another glance and walked into the institute. A short while later, my assistant brought me a manila envelope. Inside were the divorce papers. Rose had finally signed them. A month later, after the mandatory waiting period, I flew back to the States to finalize everything. After the divorce was official, I slowly pieced together everything that had happened. Rose had used all of her family's resources to track down Ethan after he'd fled a second time, and they caught the man he ran off with as well. Once they were caught, Rose produced a mountain of evidence for embezzlement, and both Ethan and his lover were sent to prison. As for Lily, one night she had woken up crying for her father, wandered out of the house in a daze, and was hit by a car. She was now in coma at the hospital. Rose seemed to have aged overnight. She stopped going to the office, spending all her time at the hospital by Lily's bedside. I heard she talks to herself now, that she isn't doing well. A mutual friend who told me all this watched my face carefully for a reaction. The doctors say she'll probably never wake up, and even if she does, she'll be in a wheelchair for life. Are you going to go see her? I paused for a moment, then shook my head. No, they're strangers to me now. There's no reason to. 10 years of my life. The love was gone. The ties were cut. It was better not to look back.